All right, let's talk Detroit Lions. This is obviously one of the best teams in football, and earlier this week they made headlines when it comes to making a big move for this roster and a big move for the rest of the season and for the years going forward. But I think when you dive into the details of this decision by Detroit, it's not just a good move, it's a great move that I think when it's all said and done will look like one of the bigger value finds, one of the bigger steals in recent NFL history. We'll get into all that reporting and data in just 1 second. But first, I am Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, the Detroit Lions, of course, made a lot of news earlier this week when they finally confirmed an extension for their superstar edge rusher, Aiden Hutchinson. I'm sure most of you are aware of that at this point, and we'll get into the data here for a second, why this matters, but I want to set the table with the context, because anytime you make a big move, a big decision like this, even though it's been in the works for a little while, the context and the particulars matter. A lot of people, when they reported the news, just kind of glossed over and said, okay, makes sense, good deal, good extension, timing is, good, it's fine. It's not like the perfect timing, maybe. It's not like the worst timing. Overall, this is a good move. Good job by Detroit. I think they're underselling a little bit. And I'm talking about the timing. I'm talking about the context, especially in comparison to the rival superstar edge rusher, the Green Bay Packers, and when they acquired Micah Parsons prior to the season, surrendering 2 first-round draft picks, one of their defensive tackles, a good veteran in Kenny Clark, and extended Micah Parsons on an APY basis of about $47.5 million per year. So the context of that is really important. Now, the insinuation, of course, is that Parsons is significantly better and significantly more impactful than Aiden Hutchinson if he got more money than Hutch, which he certainly did. Let's pull up the report here just to remind everyone of the particulars of the extension per Adam Schefter. The financial details, Aiden Hutchinson is signing a 4-year, $180 million extension that includes $141 million guaranteed per Hutchinson's agent, Mike McCartney 7. So anyone who can do a little math can look at 4-year, $180 million. That comes out to $45 million on an annualized basis when it comes to his extension. That is $2.5 million less than Micah Parsons. So it's in within the ballpark realm, and there's all the kinds of particulars with the contract. But what really matters in terms of my opinion is that annualized basis, right? Because we're going to assume Hutchinson and Parsons, they're not going to get cut early. They're not going to have any funky contract details. So their annualized average over the extensions, that's what's really going to matter when it comes to these two very good players. So Parsons got a little bit more money, and Green Bay obviously gave up a lot to get Micah Parsons in terms of the draft capital they surrender. Obviously, the Detroit Lions did the same when they drafted Hutchinson so high. I would say Green Bay gave up more for Parsons, but we won't argue about that. Let's look at in terms of just the value, the dollars here, because that's what really stands out in terms of great players and what you pay them and what they count against the cap. Now, normally what happens if you have a great player and the market was reset earlier that year, he gets more. But here, the Detroit Lions actually, on an annualized basis, are paying less for Hutchinson. So the insinuation then, it's clear. Micah Parsons is better. He's more productive. He's more impactful. And when you dive into the data, not the case at all. So let's get going into these numbers here, and I think you Lions fans will really appreciate this. So this first graphic here is courtesy of True Media Analytics platform that we love to use on Saturday Morning Inspection. So I plotted here quarterback hits on the x-axis and solo tackles on the y. And you can substitute sacks for quarterback hits. I like quarterback hits a little bit more because, especially earlier in the season, because sacks can sometimes be a factor of your teammate, can be, hey, right place, right time. There's a lot of guys, especially early in the season, that can pile up a bunch of sacks because they had one crazy 3-sack game because, the quarterback stepped right up into their lap 3 times, right? So I avoid sacks early in the season. So just for this time of the year, halfway through the year, roughly, I'm looking at quarterback hits and solo tackles, and Parsons has one more quarterback hit, and you look at Aiden Hutchinson has one more solo tackle. So they're essentially on a productivity basis, which is what matters, right? When it comes to individual player performances, what they're doing right now, if they're a star, what are your production? What are the numbers you're putting out there? And you can see right now, Hutchinson and Parsons are essentially the same player. Okay, so this is a good sign for Detroit, right? Micah Parsons is not significantly better. You would have, again, expected Hutchinson to get more money or at least the same. Instead, the Lions got him at a slight discount. So that looks good. But let's go into impact here, because I think this is the other element, because people talk about this all the time, especially with Micah Parsons. Oh, the impact he has on a team and the impact he has on a defense. After all, he was on the Dallas Cowboys defense, and now they're quite terrible. Now, people forget Dallas was Detroit Lions. You don't forget this, of course, because you put 47 on Dallas last year, but they were bad defensively, even with Parsons playing the majority of the games last season. So again, it's not exactly like Micah Parsons was the savior impact-wise for Dallas. But what about for Green Bay? All right, so let's get into our next graphic here. I think it's interesting. Let's start with the Hutch effect. And I think this is where we're looking at defensive EPA per play. You can see the Detroit Lions in 2021, before Hutchinson got there, had a minus 0.1 EPA per play surrendered defensively. Okay, in 2022, minus 0.9. In 2023, 0. In 2024, 0.04. And in 2025, so far, 0.05. What do you notice, right? And don't worry about the raw numbers. EPA per play is always going to be a very small number. So even though the digits and the numbers are very small, just that metric, just that analytical, EPA, expected points added per play, is always going to be a relatively small number. So again, you can look at this and say, okay, the Detroit Lions were at a certain mark before Hutchinson. They got better when he arrived and have continually gotten better each and every season with Aidan Hutchinson. Okay, he has a clear, obvious impact on the defense as a whole. That's obvious. The numbers bear that out. Undeniable, right? The eye test says the same thing, but the numbers here confirm it. All right, here's where it gets interesting. How about the Parsons effect in Green Bay? So in 2023, they were basically right at 0, a little bit above 0 in terms of their defensive EPA per play. In 2024, they were 0.07, so a little bit better. And in 2025, they're actually right at 0, technically a tiny little bit below 0. So, and again, in 2023, no Parsons in Green Bay. In 2024, no Parsons in Green Bay. In 2025, they have Parsons. So where's the Parsons effect? Again, I'm going to go back to the Hutchinson, image here just to relay it. This is the Hutch effect. You can see the defense clearly got better each and every year in overall pre and post Hutch. And even you can discount, in my opinion, his rookie year a little bit because he's a rookie, right? If you look at Parsons, not a rookie, he's a veteran. So even if you just look at 2021 and 2022 to 23 and then 24 and 25, clearly there is a obvious Aidan Hutchinson effect. And remember, 2024's numbers are really heavily skewed when the numbers got bad the second half of the season when the Lions got really beat up. Obviously, Hutchinson was hurt. So the numbers for 2024 would be even better for Detroit had it not been the rash of injuries they suffered the fall of last year. But again, when you look at the Parsons effect, there is none. He's supposed to be so impactful. And I'm not dissing Micah Parsons at all. I think he's a fantastic player. He's a wonderful player. He's an all-pro player. But I think we're overvaluing him a little bit. And this is what can happen sometimes when it's a Cowboy or former Dallas Cowboy. We all see it, right? Good players are great players. Great players are the best players in football. Micah Parsons is a good pass rusher. But the reality is he's Khalil Mack, who's a very good player, has been for a very long time. He's not Lawrence Taylor. Not even close. He's not Myles Garrett. Not even close. In fact, as we'll show in a little bit, he's not even Aidan Hutchinson. There's a lot of great data we're going to get to that talks more about the impact. But first, Lions fans, I want to hear from you guys in the comment section below. As Detroit prepares, obviously, for coming out of the situation with a game against Minnesota this weekend, of course, this is tough for Minnesota. Minnesota's kind of desperate right now. Obviously, the Lions are a better football team. I think we can all agree that. But playing a desperate division rival, kind of throw out the records, this one could get a little dicey. Give us your thoughts on this game and how you think it will shake out. Give us your prediction. Final score, Detroit, Minnesota. Put it in the comment section below. But I talked a second ago about the Parsons effect, or lack thereof. And I talked about the Hutch effect and how it's clear and obvious. But I can hear people already saying, you're talking about defensive EPA per play, the whole defense. Parsons is such an elite pass rusher. What he does in the pass defense game is so crazy, and it's a pass league, right? It's 100% what it is because he's so good as a pass rusher. It completely changes the numbers, it completely changes the map. Okay, fair enough. Let's look at the numbers from a effect perspective, an impact perspective, strictly looking at EPA per dropback, looking at pass defense specifically. Remove run defense, remove defense as an aggregate. Let's just focus on pass defense. So this is a chart I put together. Again, the Hutch effect. This is EPA per pass. You can see in 2021 where the Lions were. 2022, they added Hutchinson. 2023, 24, now 25. You can see they're literally getting better every single year against the pass. That's the Aidan Hutchinson effect, right? He comes in, they're a little bit better. He gets more experience. They get better and better and better. Clear and obvious. Like you don't need to take advanced prob and stats in college, right? You don't need to have a mathematics degree to look at this and say, yeah, Aidan Hutchinson, when he showed up in 2022 and since then, as he's gotten better, they've gotten better. Clear impact player, undeniably so, right? It's obvious. It's right in front of you. All right, let's look at Micah Parsons, guys. This is the Parsons effect. This is the Green Bay Packers EPA per pass. 2023, you can see where they were. You can see in 2024. You can see where they were in 2024. And in 2025, they're right back where they were in 2023. Where's the impact, guys? Where is it? I literally, it's, again, here's the key. I'm going to go back to the first chart. This is the same scale, 0.1 to minus 0.3. I'm not, trying to doing some funky math here. You can see 0.1 to minus 0.3. The only difference is Parsons, I only went back 2 years with Green Bay. I could have gone back farther, but there really is no point at that from that perspective because, again, Aidan Hutchinson joined in 2022. So I went back 1 year. I actually went back 2 years for Green Bay just in case 2024 was an anomaly. But you can see there's really no effect either from 2024 or 2023 to the Green Bay Packers today. Now, again, I'm not dissing Micah Parsons. I'm not saying he's I'm not saying he's a bad football player. I'm not saying he's very, very good, right? I'll make that out in the open, make it very clear. Micah Parsons is a great defensive football player. But Aiden Hutchinson, he's just better. He's more impactful, right? Let's walk through all this again one more time just to make sure everyone understands here. So we got the raw numbers here, basically the same, in terms of where they sit in production. Okay, same level. Then you go to the effect on a defensive EPA per play on an aggregate level. You can see the Hutch effect very real. Without him, with them, they get better and better and better, right? Clearly, undeniable. The graph showed it. And again, you hear the Parsons effect, 23, 24, 25. From an aggregate defensive perspective, they actually were a little bit better last year without him. And in 2025, they're kind of unchanged. Actually, 2025 so far is their worst year of the past three with Parsons. Where's the Parsons effect, guys? How about just pass rushing? How about defending against the pass in general, right? That's what edge rushers do, right? Look at these numbers. Hutch comes in 2022, immediately better, and they continually get better, right? This makes sense. Impact player, superstar. Clearly, obviously. The Parsons effect, where is it? EPA against the pass for the Packers, it's unchanged from 2023 to 2025, basically. And 2024 was actually, again, a little bit better without Parsons. Where is the Micah Parsons effect? Where is it? Listen, Hutchinson is a next-level impact player. He may not get the media attention. He may not get the hype and the love just because Micah Parsons played for the Dallas Cowboys. We all know that means you get preferred attention in the media, sometimes negatively and sometimes positively, right? We all understand that. That's just the way it works in the NFL. You don't have to like it. You don't have to love it. You can absolutely hate it. It's just fact, right? And now we've got in this situation where the numbers, the data truly bear itself out that Hutchinson is a better player. He's more impactful, right? He is affecting the game and helping his team significantly more than Parsons is. On a productivity basis, they're about the same. They're equal, okay? And Hutchinson is far more impactful. And despite all that information, the Detroit Lions got him at a slight discount to Parsons. Again, the normal standard is if a player resets the market and another player of similar caliber gets a deal, he usually exceeds. He certainly never goes under. Yet the Lions, again, somehow pulled this off. In my opinion, the Detroit Lions got a better player, a more impactful player, a more versatile player, a sturdier player, a more physical player, just as productive for a discount. That's unheard of stuff, folks. It just doesn't happen. That, to me, again, we talk about great value finds and great deals. Now that we're in the trade deadline, a lot of these things are going to be flying around. But to me, it's this deal right here, this move by Detroit that I think it's going under the radar, but I think it's one of the deals, not just of this season, but of any in the past few seasons. Great job by Holmes. Great job by the Lions. This sets them up very nicely for the future.